Hello and welcome to the Scrum Study course on a guide to the Scrum body of knowledge, a definitive guide for Scrum and the rules for the game. Scrum is a framework for developing and sustaining complex projects. What is the Scrum body of knowledge? It is a compilation of the latest methods and best practices employed by its practitioners and experts. Furthermore, it provides guidelines for the successful implementation of Scrum. It is the most popular Agile project management and project development framework. It provides a comprehensive framework that includes the principles, aspects, and processes of the Scrum framework. Now that we know about Scrum and the SBOC guide, let's see the applicability of Scrum as defined in the SBOC. Scrum framework is widely used across portfolios, programs, and/or projects in any industry, products, services, or any other deliverables to be developed and projects of any size or complexity. According to the Scrum body of knowledge, the term product may refer to a product, service, or other deliverable. The practicality of Scrum as a framework is that it can be applied effectively to any project in any industry, whether they are small projects with 6-person teams or large complex projects with up to several hundred team members. Now that we have pretty much summed up the Scrum body of knowledge in general, let us quickly run through an overview of a guide to the SBOC chapters. The first chapter describes the purpose and framework of the SBOC and provides an introduction of the key concepts of Scrum. It also contains the summary of Scrum principles, Scrum aspects, and Scrum processes. The second chapter expands on the 6 Scrum principles, the foundation on which the Scrum framework is based. Chapters 3 to 7 elaborate on the 5 Scrum aspects that must be addressed throughout any project. The chapters discussed are organization, business justification, quality, change, and risk. Chapters 8 to 12 cover the 19 Scrum processes involved in carrying out a Scrum project. These processes are, in turn, part of 5 Scrum phases, which are initiate, plan and estimate, implement, review and retrospect, and release. The phases detail the associated inputs and outputs of each process, as well as the various tools that may be used in each. Some inputs, tools, and outputs are mandatory and are indicated as such with asterisks. Others are optional, depending on the specific project, organizational requirements, and/or guidelines set forth by the organization's Scrum Guidance Body or SGB. Chapters 13 and 14 cover the 8 processes required to scale Scrum to large projects and the enterprise. For large-scale Scrum projects that require coordination across multiple teams, there are 3 additional Scrum processes, which are defined in Chapter 13, Scaling Scrum for Large Projects. There are also specific processes defined when implementing Scrum at the enterprise level, which are covered in Chapter 14, Scaling Scrum for the Enterprise. Finally, Appendix A contains an overview of the Agile Manifesto by Fowler and Highsmith and a discussion of various Agile methods for those who want more information about Agile. The sections covered in this chapter are 1.1 Overview of Scrum, 1.2 Why Use Scrum, 1.3 Purpose of a Guide to the SBOC, 1.4 Framework of a Guide to the SBOC, and 1.5 Scrum versus Traditional Project Management. And that wraps up the introduction to the Scrum body of knowledge.
Hello, and welcome back to Scrum Study Course on a Guide to the Scrum Body of Knowledge. In the earlier SBOC Guide module, we saw that a Guide to the Scrum Body of Knowledge provides guidelines for the successful implementation of Scrum. So isn't it necessary that we know a little more about Scrum? Let's take a look. A Scrum project involves a collaborative effort to create a new product, service, or other result as defined in the project vision statement. All projects are impacted by constraints of time, cost, scope, quality, resources, organizational capabilities, and other limitations that make them difficult to plan, execute, manage, and ultimately succeed. However, successful implementation of the results of a finished project provides significant business benefits to an organization. It is therefore important for organizations to select and practice an appropriate project management framework. And this is where Scrum comes in. So what is Scrum? Scrum is one of the most popular Agile frameworks. It is an adaptive, iterative, fast, flexible, and effective methodology designed to deliver significant value quickly and throughout a project. Scrum ensures transparency in communication and creates an environment of collective accountability and continuous progress. The Scrum framework, as defined in the SBOM guide, is structured in such a way that it supports product and service development in all types of industries and in any type of project, irrespective of its complexity. Here another question arises. Why is Scrum better than other project management techniques? A key strength of Scrum lies in its use of cross-functional, self-organized, and empowered teams who divide their work into short, concentrated work cycles called sprints. Think of sprints as short time spans in which a certain amount of work must be done. Take a look at this diagram, which illustrates the Scrum project's flow. As you can see, the Scrum cycle begins with a stakeholder meeting, during which the project vision is created. The product owner then develops a prioritized product backlog, which contains a prioritized list of business and project requirements, written in the form of user stories. Each sprint begins with a sprint planning meeting, during which high-priority user stories are considered for inclusion in the sprint. A sprint generally lasts between 1 and 6 weeks and involves the Scrum team working to create potentially shippable deliverables or product increments. During the sprint, short, highly focused daily stand-up meetings are conducted where team members discuss daily progress. Toward the end of the sprint, a sprint review meeting is held, during which the product owner and relevant stakeholders are provided a demonstration of the deliverables. The product owner accepts the deliverables only if they meet the predefined acceptance criteria. The sprint cycle ends with a retrospect sprint meeting where the team discusses ways to improve processes and performance as they move forward into the subsequent sprint. I hope you enjoyed this quick overview and learning about the project's flow in Scrum, and I'll see you in the next module where we will briefly discuss the history of Scrum. And thank you for learning with us. Hello, and welcome back to Scrum Study Course on a guide to the Scrum body of knowledge. In this module, you will learn how Scrum is helpful to any project. So let us see some of the key benefits of using Scrum. Adaptability is the very first benefit I want to point out here. The Scrum principles of empirical process control and iterative delivery make projects adaptable and open to incorporating change when it occurs. Scrum processes are designed to embrace change. A key benefit for stakeholders is that Scrum is customer-centric. Emphasis on business value and having a collaborative approach that includes stakeholders ensures a customer-oriented framework in a Scrum-controlled project. Continuous delivery of value is an additional benefit that results from being customer-centric. In Scrum, iterative processes enable the continuous delivery of value through the ship deliverables process. Each sprint produces a potentially shippable product, service, or desired result. Early delivery of high value is a closely related business benefit of using Scrum. Not only is the delivery of value continuous, the create prioritized product backlog process ensures that the highest value requirements of the customer are met first. Both the customer and the project team benefit from continuous feedback. In Scrum, continuous feedback is provided through the conduct daily stand-up and demonstrate and validate sprint processes. Continuous feedback contributes to another key benefit, transparency. In a Scrum-managed project, all information centers, such as the Scrum board and sprint burnout chart, are continually displayed and updated, which leads to an open working environment. Sprint review meetings demonstrate potentially shippable products to stakeholders, keeping them fully informed about the current status and progress of the project. Transparency enhances the important benefit of a high-trust environment. The conduct daily stand-up and retrospect sprint processes promote transparency and collaboration. This leads to a high-trust work environment, ensuring low friction between employees. Scrum's adaptability and transparency create an environment of continuous improvement. As the project progresses, the deliverables are improved progressively, sprint by sprint, with changes and improvements being included and managed through the Scrum prioritized product backlog process. Another important benefit is sustainable pace. Scrum processes are designed such that the people involved can work at a pace that they can sustain indefinitely. Another benefit of using Scrum is an efficient development process. In Scrum, it has been observed that time boxing and minimizing non-essential work leads to higher efficiency levels. The next benefit is motivation. The conduct daily stand-up and retrospect sprint processes lead to greater levels of motivation among employees. Faster problem resolution is one of the important benefits of using Scrum in projects. Collaboration and co-location of cross-functional teams lead to identifying and solving problems more quickly. The next benefit is effective deliverables. The demonstrate and validate process and regular reviews after creating deliverables ensures effective deliverables to the customer. The next benefit is collective ownership. The estimate user stories process and commit user stories process allows team members to take ownership of the project and of their work, leading to better quality in Scrum. High velocity is another important benefit. A collaborative framework enables highly skilled cross-functional teams to achieve their full potential and high velocity. Scrum pioneer and signer of the Agile Manifesto, Jeff Sutherland, calls this state hyper-productivity. And the last benefit that we will discuss is Scrum's innovative environment. The retrospect sprint and retrospect project processes create an environment of introspection, learning, and adaptability, leading to an innovative and creative work environment. And that wraps up this module introducing key benefits of using Scrum in any project. I look forward to seeing you again, and thank you for learning with us. Hello, and welcome to Scrum Study Course on the Scrum Body of Knowledge. So far, we have discussed the benefits, purpose, scalability, principles, processes, phases, and aspects. Actually, everything one needs to know to implement Scrum. Have you ever wondered why Scrum is becoming more popular with every passing day? The simplest answer is that Scrum is better than traditional project management methods in many ways. Let's take a look at the differences between Scrum and a typical traditional project management model in a detailed way. The main difference between traditional project management models and the Scrum framework is the way in which the project is handled. Traditional project management is based on processes, while Scrum asks for a change in mindset with its focus on the people involved in the project. Although processes and tools are necessary in completing a project successfully, it is always the people who undertake, participate in, and implement the project. They do the work that takes the project from idea to reality. According to Scrum, the key factors in any project are the people, and the emphasis should be on them and their actions. Various cross-functional teams work in parallel across sprints to deliver potentially shippable deliverables at the end of each sprint. In a traditional model, the amount of functionalities not done remains high, and no product is delivered until the end or very near the end of the project. What gives Scrum an edge over other practices when it comes to the size of the team? Scrum can be used for managing projects of all sizes. Scrum works well for most projects and team sizes. Large projects utilize multiple Scrum teams, which work in sync to ensure project progress. Since its early days, Scrum is focused on producing working software over comprehensive documentation. It still does, and has expanded that focus to include the incremental development of products other than software. While documentation is necessary and useful for any project, Scrum teams focus on interim deliverables in which real value is delivered to the customer. The documentation is done minimally as and when it is required. Lessons learned are recorded during retrospective meetings. The process followed in Scrum is iterative, unlike the linear model used in traditional frameworks, such as the waterfall model. The iterative model helps product development improve over time. It maximizes opportunities for feedback and ensures potentially shippable versions of working products at the end of each sprint or iteration. Scrum encourages iterative decision-making based on data over the detailed upfront planning practiced in traditional waterfall-style project management. The focus is not on meeting the project's plan targets, but on satisfying customer requirements. Traditional project management can lead to a situation where the plan has succeeded, but the customer is not satisfied. In addition to iterative planning and delivery, Scrum supports the collaboration of all parties involved, the customer, business team, and project team, to minimize risk and achieve satisfaction. In Scrum, delivering the greatest value in the shortest amount of time means prioritizing work based on customer needs and dividing what will be done from what needs to be done. Scrum is often contrasted with other linear fashion project methods due to its low upfront planning and scheduling of activities, which move immediately into execution. In today's business environment, change is rapid and long-range planning is problematic. Predicting and planning every detail of new services and new product development is almost impossible. Scrum uses its low upfront planning framework to be adaptable and accommodating to change. Risk management is continuous in a Scrum-managed project, in which risk management works with the product owner, Scrum team, and Scrum Master to determine the best approach to handle identified risks. Whereas in traditional models, risks are handled up front, even before many risks have been identified. According to Scrum, each deliverable goes to the quality assurance team as it is developed, and testing is carried out, keeping customer value in mind. Strict controls, such as acceptance criteria and a clear definition of done, are in place to avoid deviations from the customer's requirements. In traditional methods, process is given more importance. As opposed to the traditional control and command style of management, Scrum believes that today's workers have much more to offer than just their technical expertise, and therefore deliver greater value when self-organized. Unlike traditional project management methods, in which value justification is done before the project commences, here in Scrum, it is done throughout the project. The management style followed in Scrum is decentralized in nature, such that the workforce does not have to be dependent on management for everything, which is the case in the old autocratic project management methods. This encourages workers to be innovative problem solvers. Scrum believes that product development is a shared value creation process that needs all the stakeholders working and interacting together to deliver the greatest value. Command and control is the rule of the day in traditional models. How is team performance measured in Scrum and traditional models? In Scrum, it is measured in terms of the business value the team creates, while plan conformity decides the measurement of performance in traditional project methods. In Scrum, the team develops business value at the end of every sprint. Does Scrum give a good return on investment? The answer is a big yes, and the ROI starts early and continues throughout the project life. Whereas in traditional project management methods, the project starts providing ROI for the customer at the end of the project. How does Scrum value a customer's participation? Well, Scrum highly recommends and is designed for the involvement of customers throughout the project. In traditional methods, customer involvement during product or service development is usually very limited, but can vary depending on a project's life cycle. All in all, Scrum is an innovative framework for managing any type of project. It is suited to our time and age, ready to replace the traditional project management techniques that were created in and for a bygone era. With this, we come to the end of our module on Scrum versus traditional project management. This is also the last module in our Scrum Study introductory course on the Scrum body of knowledge. We hope you have profited greatly from this course and look forward to seeing you in our other videos at scrumstudy.com. Thank you for learning with us.
Hello and welcome back to Scrum Study. So far, we've discussed the 6 principles that guide Scrum. Have you ever wondered why Scrum is becoming more popular with every passing day? Well, in many ways, Scrum is better than the traditional project management methods. Let's consider in detail some of these differences between Scrum and traditional project management models. The main difference is the way in which projects are handled. The emphasis in traditional project management is to conduct detailed upfront planning for the project with emphasis on fixing the scope, cost, and schedule and managing those parameters. Traditional project management may at times lead to a situation where the plan has succeeded, yet the customer isn't satisfied. Scrum encourages data-based iterative decisions over the detailed upfront planning practiced in traditional waterfall-style project management. The focus isn't on meeting the project plan's targets, but on satisfying customer requirements. Traditional project management can lead to a situation where the plan has succeeded, yet the customer isn't satisfied. In addition to iterative planning and delivery, Scrum supports the collaboration of all parties involved, be it the customer, business team, or technical team, to minimize risk and achieve satisfaction. Scrum is often contrasted with the other linear fashion project methods because of the low upfront planning and scheduling of activities that are followed by execution. The Scrum framework is founded on the belief that the knowledge workers of today can offer much more than just their technical expertise, and that trying to fully map out and plan for an ever-changing environment isn't efficient. Therefore, Scrum encourages data-based, iterative decision-making. In Scrum, the primary focus is on delivering products that satisfy customer requirements in small, iterative, shippable increments. To deliver the greatest amount of value in the shortest amount of time, Scrum promotes prioritization and time boxing over fixing the scope, cost, and schedule of a project. An important feature of Scrum is self-organization, which allows the individuals who are actually doing the work to estimate and take ownership of tasks. We can conclude this segment by saying that all in all, Scrum is an updated theory for managing any type of project, suited to our time and age, ready to replace the traditional project management techniques that were created in and for a bygone era. And with that, we come to the end of this session on Scrum versus traditional project management methods. And this marks the end of our module on the principles of Scrum as presented in A Guide to the Scrum Body of Knowledge. We at Scrum Study look forward to seeing you in more of our informational videos. Until then, thank you for learning with us.